Hello, Avila Advantage Macroeconomics students. We are now in our seventh week, so things are moving along quite quickly now. Just have 2 weeks left. For this week, we're going to look at the banking system in the United States, the Federal Reserve, definitions of money. You're also going to look at some of monetary policy. Interestingly enough, this coming week, on I guess it would be the 21st, I'm actually going to get to go visit the Federal Reserve. So it's one of the things that, if you ever do get the opportunity to in Kansas City, it's near the Liberty Memorial. You have to call ahead of time to schedule a tour, but I'd highly encourage you to do so. And for this week, of course, you'll have the My Econ Lab. It's spring break week here at Avila, so I'm going to keep it light on the forum discussion. But there is a paper out there that was a speech that was written by Esther George, who is our current Federal Reserve Bank president at Kansas City. And I just want you to read the article, and if there's something that sticks out to you, just in a one brief paragraph, about something that resonates with you and that was in the speech that you found interesting. So that's all it is. Just have to post once this week, and you don't need to reply to anyone, but if you want to, you can. So as I said, just want to keep it a little bit lighter this week and let you finish and wrap up, because we do have the final 2 weeks approaching, and then you'll have towards the end, a final exam and final paper due. So, well, anyway, with some of the things I want to talk about for this week, getting it back to definitions of money. In order to be considered money, it has to have what we call a mean exchange, a unit account, and a store of value. And by definitions, credit cards may look as though they're money, but the reality is they really don't hold that store of value. So it's just you're just extending credit to someone, and that can easily be taken away. At least if you have a dollar bill, you can take that dollar bill and shove it under your mattress and still pull it out years later and be able to use that dollar bill. Of course, there may be some erosion effects because of inflation, but it still holds value. Also, you'll have bigger definitions of money. What the Federal Reserve looks at what they call M1 and M2, the amount of money in the economy. It's the Federal Reserve's job to kind of keep track of that money supply and make sure there is the right amount of money in the economy. We engage in a fractional reserve banking system. Money is created more so in the form of loans. Banks have to keep a certain amount of reserves on vault cash or deposit at their Federal Reserve. And they're in the business of asset liability management. So if you make a $1,000 deposit, the bank's going to look at that and say, I have to keep 10% on reserve. I can lend out the difference, the $900. And in theory, if that $900 that they lend out is put right back into the bank, then they look at that again to say, okay, well, now I have to keep 10% of that. So I keep $90 and I lend out $810, and that process continues again. So when they talk about the money multiplier, by definition, 1 divided by the reserve requirement, it's the potential amount of money that could expand in the economy. And the reality is that some people hold money in the form of cash, so the actual money multiplier would have to be adjusted to say how much true loans could be expanded in the economy. But it's kind of this concept, along with the money multiplier, we get to the next chapter about monetary policy, is whether the Federal Reserve wants to engage in expansionary monetary policy to try to stimulate aggregate demand, or contractionary if they feel there's a lot of inflation. Right now, we've been in a really long period of super low interest rates. The Federal Reserve has been actually on a bond buying program where they're purchasing a lot of long-term bonds to keep both low rates and long-term rates low, in the hopes to try to stimulate aggregate demand. Their target, they said, they want to try to get below 6.5% unemployment, but they have tapered off a little bit on that long-term bond buying process, and they'll probably continue to do so and monitor things as long as inflation stays in check. So, but the question, you'll find interesting, the paper written by Esther George, or the speech, is she's kind of questioning some of this long-term policy. She's giving her own normative opinion. Maybe this is not the best thing, because maybe it encourages banks to take on more risk because they can't make their normal profit through traditional normal interest rates. They're just too low, so they're not getting a good return on their investment. So, well, that's pretty much what I wanted to wrap up for this week, to kind of just give you a little bit overview of the week, things to think about. And then also, do email me if you have any questions, but just stay on top of things. We're on the home stretch. We wrap up here on March 30th, so we've got about 2 weeks left. But otherwise, enjoy a little bit of the spring break if you can, and I will talk to you next week.